Hello friend, welcome back. In our previous video, I have already discussed about that things with you, how you can read all the data from your database table and how you can visible it in your front end area. So now I want to make this slider dynamic, right? So if you want to do that work, like they have some of the images, they have some of the name, that means the title, and they have some of the description. So it should be just like that same or as our previous one. So as I told you friend, if you already well understand about this part, then it should be very much easy to you. Okay, so right now I also want to display it, how you can do that work. I will show you that things with a live example. So for doing this, first of all, here we have to create one of the table for our this slider, right? So now if you want to create some of the slider table, that is our URL. So right now I just simply remove everything. So for doing this, we have to do in our index area, that is our models, right? For the about, I have created one of the tables. So now for our slider, I want to create another table. Like here, better I just simply copy it. And after this, I just simply paste it. I want to create another table class, and I just name that class as a slider. So I just simply name it as a slider. So it should be that with our model, it will be inherited our model, right? That is a model class. And then for this slider, I need one of the title. That means this title, I need one of the description that will be also as a dynamic, and also we need one of the images. So it should be just like that same. So for the slider, I want to do, it should be uploaded to our one of the folder as a slider. So that means that is actually the slider folder in our media. If you go to our media, into the media, so here I want to create one of the folder. So I just simply create one of the folder as a slider. That means slider related every slider images will be saved in our particular this folder area. Okay, so here it should be saved. And then also I make all that field as a required. So friend, here one things I also want to show you, like for the here I added as a blank as a false. That means if you go to our site, that means that is actually our about. Into the about us here, if you go to our add about, so that is all that our field. If you now click as a save, now you can see it's now showing as a this field is required, this field is required, and also this field is required. It because of all here I have added as a blank as a false. So if you don't want to make the things as a required, then you have to change it. You have to change that things with the true. So when you make the things as a true, that means it should be as a nullable. Okay, so here if you make the things as a field, then it should be not display anything. Rather than if you want to make the things as a required, then you have to make as a blank false. Okay, so here you can see by default it's actually getting that all that validation. So here you don't need to do anything, so which is very much good. Perfect. I hope it's very much clear to you friend. So now for the slider, I just simply added the title, and here for title length I just added a 100. The description will be 800, and then our images will be saved in our upload folder, that is our slider. Perfect. So after that creating this class, then we have to migrate it, right? So now I just click as a save all. So here right now that is our index. So now after that we have to migrate. So that is our one of the terminal is already running. Better I want to open our another terminal. So that is our Django. We have to go to our portfolio folder as a CD and then portfolio. Okay, so then it should be redirected to our portfolio folder, because here we have to actually do that work, right? That is actually our project. So now I want to migrate it. So if you want to migrate, and that means if you want to run that our make migrations, then automatically it will be created one of the migration in particular that area, right? So here I want to do that work. So first of all, if you want to do that work, you have to write down as a Python, and then our manage py. With this manage py, you have to write as a make migrations, right? So now if you click as a enter, now you can see it's automatically created one of the migrations file for the slider. That means in our migrations area, you can see it's automatically created one of the migrations file. And as I told you before friend, ID is automatically created. So here you don't need to add any IDs. And then there is our title, description, and then the image. Perfect. So now we are ready to migrate. That means after that I want to actually migrate this table. So here if you want to migrate, then you have to write down as a Python and then manage.py and then migrate. So I just simply added Python, manage.py and the migrate. Now click as a enter. Now you can see it's now successfully migrated that file. But right now if you go to our database and if you now refresh it, now you can see friend, our this table is not visible because of all here I didn't register it, right? So we have to also register it like that before. That means in our index, into the index. So right now we don't need this. Okay, so into the index and then our admin. So previously I have created one of the class as about and also I registered it. So now I want to do that same things. And now I have created another one, that means in our models input, and that means in our models I have created as a slider. So now I just simply added that slider. And also here we have to register it. That means we have to send some of the requests to our admin that I have created one of the table as a slider. So now I just simply add it. Now click as a save all. And now if you refresh, yeah, you can see it's now perfectly loaded on here as a slider. So if you go to the slider and if you go to the add slider, you can see it's now perfect. That is our title, that is our description, and that is our image. Right, friend? So here right now I want to insert some of the slider, like that is the images, and also we need the slider. Right now for education purpose I name it as a slider. Okay, slider image name 1. And then I put some of the description. Better I just simply copy some of the description from here. And for better understand, I make the things as Aryan first. Okay, so that will be as a dynamic, and also I choose some of the image. So for education purpose, friend, I want to actually use some of the image. Okay, my course, all that actually image. So I just simply add that image and click as a save. And now you can see that is actually showing our slider object 1. So here also if you want to change it, as I told you before, you have to go to your model area, and into this model area, that is our magic method. So with this magic method self, here you can display it. Like if you want to display it with the title, then it should be display the title name, right? So I just simply make the things as a title also on here. Click as a save all, and now refresh it. Now you can see it's now perfectly updated. So now also I want to add another one as a slider. That means the image. What exactly I did on here? Like there is a slider image, right? So I just simply add new one. It will be as a slider image 2. Slider image 2, and then I just copy some of the description and also choose some of the image. Right now I choose this one, open it, click as a save. So that is our slider 2, and if you also want to add new one, you can add multiple from here. That is our slider 3. Slider 3, and here that is our description. I just choose some of the image, and now I choose this one. Okay, so for education purpose I'm actually using this type of one of the images. So if you want to use this type of one of the image, then you can actually download some of the image from to the Google. Okay, so for education purpose I'm using it. Now click as a save. So here I have already added our 3 of this slider as a slider 1, 2 and the 3, right? So now we have to get our this data, right? So now I want to get this data, so that will be also display in our index. That means we have to work in our that is our slider and into the view. That means in our index view, right? So here I want to display that things in our home page. So for the reasons here we have to do that work. So now I just simply copy it, and also here I just simply paste it. So here also it will be just like that same. I just name one of the variable as a slider data, and then also I want to get our models data. So if you want to add a multiple from our same model, like here there is our another model name I just declared as our class name as a slider, right? So you can also add that as a slider. You can also add that things as a slider, rather than you can also add the same line, then it should be easy to you. Okay, that will be easy for you. So now I just simply copy it. So that will be our slider. So I just simply load from our model, from to the model I input our slider class, so that is our slider. So now we can actually use it. So here I just simply use that with the slider. I get all that our object, and then in our context, that means in our dictionary area. So here I also want to do, I want to actually pass it. So with the comma, I just simply pass another one and just name it as a slider. Okay. So it doesn't mean that you have to do that as a slider. Whatever the things you will do, you can actually get that data with this key. Okay. So now I just name it as a slider, and also I get all that our object, and here I take the things with this variable. So here I just simply pass it. So now I want to actually pass our this data. So here I have already passed that data with this context in our index.html page. So if you want to check it like in our, that is in our index page, so now go to our index. So that is our index, and into the index area, so I have already display our title, description. So here first of all I want to actually check it. So better here, after that about us, that means there is actually our about us. So here I want to actually check it. So if you want to display it, what exactly you have to do? So from our view, I pass our context, and that is actually our key as a slider. So with this slider I want to do, with this slider I want to access our, if you go to that model, our field name as a title. So I want to actually check it our perfectly is getting that data or not. So I just simply added our title. Okay. Now if you click as a save all, and now if you refresh it, yes, you can see it's now perfectly getting our name. That means the slider image name 1. So here you can see there is a slider image number 1. So it's now perfectly display that our title. That means we successfully get it. That means we successfully get our title, right? So now I just simply check it. So now it's perfect. But here one thing's friend. Like here you can see I just get only one data, that means the 0 index data. For the reasons is actually display our first one data, that means first index data is visible. But here I don't want to display some of the specific row data, right? So when you actually display a specific one of the row data, then you can actually add that indexing data. Okay, that means the 0 index, the 1 index, the 2 index. It's actually display one of the particular row data. But here I want to actually get our all data. Like here I want to display our three of this slider, right? Not that a specific one row data. So here if you want to do that work, then you can display it with some of the for loop. So step by step I will show you. Like right now I want to actually get not that a specific row data, I want to get all that data. That means I want to display 3 of this slider, right? So now also here we have to do, that is in our index. So into the index area, you can see into the index area I include our slider, right? So here we have to do, I just pass that data in our index HTML with this context, right? So here we cannot actually pass that same data into our slider.html, but here if you want to pass it, you can pass it with the width. Okay, so with the width you can actually pass it, because of all in the index.html I get all the data with this context, and that is our index HTML. But if you go to our slider part, that means this slider part actually I include it in our home page, remember? So here I just simply include it, right? So now if you want to pass it, then you have to add that width. That means the width, and with our data. So I get all that our data and take the things with this variable. So now with this variable I have to pass that data. So I just simply pass it. Okay, that means this variable data, and into this variable what exactly the things I did on here. I get all that our slider data and take the thing with this variable, right? So now I just simply pass it, and then here we have to pass our key. That means what are the data actually pass in our this dictionary. So I just put that dictionary with the slider. Okay, that means that is actually our slider, right? So now we can actually display it. So now we can actually display it with the slider. So if you now go to our slider part, so for the slider I have already included it. That means the slider.html. You can see there is actually our slider.html. So here I have already loaded our load static. So that is our slider one. So I want to make the things dynamic. So that's all that our static data. So right now I just simply remove our 2 slider, and that is our 3 slider, right? So I only want to update our this portion. That means the slider 1 portion. So here that will be our title. So right now we don't need this. I just simply remove it, and here I want to display that our title. So if you want to display this title, first of all, here we have to load one of the for loop, right? So as I told you, when you actually get a specific one of the row data, then you can actually display it directly, rather than when you get all the data, then you have to run one of the for loop. So I just simply run one of the for loop. As I told you before, how can write that from for loop. So that is our for loop, and then also we have to finish it. So I just simply finish it. I just simply finish our and for. So I just simply add it as a and for, right? So now I want to into the for loop area, what data I actually pass from to the index with our slider data. So now with this slider data, we get all that our slider images and also information. So now here we have to I want to show with row or whatever you want in our main data. That means here I just simply get it, and here if you want to make the things as a row, if you want to make the things as a REN, whatever you want. So right now I make the things as a row, right? So now with this row I can actually display it. So I show you. So here with this row, so with this row I want to show our field name. If you go to that model, I want to show our title. So here title, so I just simply copy it, that will be our field name. I just simply display it, and also I want to display our description. So right now there is so many text. Okay, so better I just simply remove it. So that will be our description in our model, our field name as a description. That will be our slider description. And also there is another one for the image. That means here we have to display that image. So I want to make that image as a dynamic. So for the reasons here we have to do here, better I just simply remove everything from here. So that will be our URL, and into the URL area with this our row. So with this row I want to show our database field name. As I told you, it should be just like that same before, the image and then our URL, right? That means it should be display our image. So that's all you have to do. Now let's check this out. If you now click as a save all, and now if you refresh it, yes, you can see friend, it's now perfectly getting our 3 of this data, but our slider is not activated. It because of all they have some of the you can see they have some of the active class. So here we have to update it. Like I just put one of the condition. So here I just put one of the condition, that means one of the if condition. Okay, I just put one of the if condition, if our this for loop, okay, if our this for loop as a fast. So I just simply added that if our this for loop as a fast one, that means first, and then I want to make the things as a active. And also after that we have to finish that our and if, that means the and if. Perfect. Okay, so because of all here, that is our total dynamic part. That means the dynamic slider. I just click the save all, and now refresh it. Yes, you can see. So that is our slider 1, slider 2, and the slider 3. So friend, I hope it's very much clear to you. Now we can actually successfully updated our images, successfully updated our title, and that is our total description, right? That means our title description and title, everything is now totally dynamic. So right now here I have created the 303. So right now you can see there is actually 3 images is visible. I hope it's very much clear to you friend. As I told you, that is actually the main basic concept. So if you well understand that basic concept, you can create any site dynamic very easily. Okay, so in Django it's ready-made, everything is ready-made, so you have to just know how we can use it. So that is the same procedure you have to follow for our, so I have already discussed about that how can update that slider, the about portion. So now your task is to update that service. Okay, so make that service as a dynamic. So here you have to create one of the title, and there is a short description. They have the 2 field will be needed, right? And then you can actually display it on here, that for the services, that the portfolio will be just like that same, and there's a client portion. So better I also want to do in our next video, I want to make our this client portion dynamic. So for the client I want to create one of the table in our index, right? And then we have to actually add it. So how can do that work in our next video? I will show you that things with a live example. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.